talent and experience still has value on the open market. Owning your own small business can help you convert your skills into profits. Tune in to the Global Entrepreneur Radio Show each week as we strive to help you plan, start, grow, and profit from self-employment without many of the headaches and pitfalls that could slow your progress. The Global Entrepreneur Radio team is committed to bringing you information that can fast-track your business concept from a blueprint on a napkin all the way to a job-creating, community-building, economic resource within the market. Our resource partners are committed to providing support along your journey. Never take another business step feeling alone again. Together, we can rebuild our economy one small business at a time. Now here's your host, Johnny Profit.
All right, it's 2 minutes past the hour, and I want to welcome you to another episode, another show of Global Entrepreneur Radio. Faith, hello, how are you?
Hello, I'm good.
That's good. So today we're talking about your role in commerce, and we're going to define maybe 3 different types of people, and I think it's around 4 different entities that make up commerce, and how you perceive them will have a huge influence on whether or not you're successful or not. Often, I don't like to give away our trade secrets because then ill-equipped individuals grab hold of it and they use it for basically to mislead you, as I would say. But there's some fundamental things that I think if you understand as an entrepreneur, small business owner, an employee, or anything in between, it is profound how it will change your understanding of commerce and how things work. And it's technology we developed within the PERT Center because we needed a more absolute understanding of commerce, not so much finance. I think when it comes to finance and stock markets, there are incredible tools out there, but when it was just narrowed down to understanding business and how the whole person-to-person transaction take place and who governs, who regulates, who distributes, who manufactures. Once we start digging into that and getting an absolute universal feel for it, this is how it works out. This is the DNA of business. We tried to package that, and today that's what we're going to talk about. Now, Faith is going to share with you her word of the day. That's her new thing now. We have a word of the day. So, Faith, what's your word of the day?
The word of the day is equity.
Equity. And so what?
Well, I don't want to give it all away. We've got to go
true.
to break.
Okay. Absolutely. So we're going to go to break. And if you're watching on Ustream, we are streaming live. We're adjusting the volume right now. Just looked over and saw I was reading a little hot. But again, it's 4 minutes past the hour. It's a beautiful, muggy day here in Houston. You can see from sea to shining sea here just about. But anyway, we're going to go to break. And when we get back, we're going to start talking about your role in commerce. And we're going to talk about equity, the Faith word of the day. SCORE, Counselors to America's Small Business, is a nonprofit association dedicated to entrepreneur education and the formation, growth, and success of small businesses nationwide. SCORE has 389 chapters and locations throughout the United States and its territories, with 10,500 volunteers nationwide. SCORE, founded in 1964, is a resource partner with the United States Small Business Administration. Houston, Texas chapter of SCORE, with more than 70 volunteers, has been helping entrepreneurs and small business owners in Houston for over 40 years. They are real-world professionals with time-tested knowledge who donate thousands of hours to help small businesses succeed. Counselors are experts in areas such as accounting, finance, marketing, management, and business plan preparation. You can visit them at their main office at 8701 South Gessner here in Houston, Texas, or just give them a call at 713-487-6565. Check them out online at scorehouston.org.
You're listening to the Global Entrepreneur Radio Show on 1480 AM. Give us a call at 713-784-1480. 713-784-1480.
Okay, and so welcome back. It's 5 minutes past the hour. And so today, again, the number up here is what? Even though she just said it. Go ahead.
713-784-1480.
So, to kind of preface all this, the whole concept of the PERT Center, which is the organization bringing you this show here on Hum Tum City, was created for the sole purpose of kind of cutting through all of the hype and the misinformation of starting your own business. I grew up in a very small rural town, and I had a lot of wonderful amenities around me that you usually don't get in a big city, from the community aspect of it, from the having the military base, the discipline, had just a lot of interesting resources that really helped shape my understanding and perception of business. And one of the things that in this day and age that I really believed helped tremendously is understanding politics. When you live under the roof with a sheriff and they have to run for office, you quickly understand the value of perception and your accountability and your role. So that helped in trying to figure out, how does business work and why does it work? And outside of the stock market and the investment side of it, if you have a small shop or a medium-sized shop, how does it work if you're an SME? But before we get started with that, and before we start talking about your role in understanding whether you are a owner, whether you are a entrepreneur, working class person, consumer, or something in between, I want to know, why'd you pick the word equity today, Faith?
Well, once again, a lot of these words come up in my mind as we discuss with different people that are, in and around the business and all aspects of it. So, there's no denying that there's been a major change in the economy. So I guess essentially from that occurrence, lots of things are changing fast. People have been trying to figure out, different options as far as how to leverage their business, capital and all that type of stuff.
Right, because we spoke with Jeff yesterday, Jeff Jones, and he was just talking about how some companies have really felt the full brunt of this economic downturn as far as capital cash flow here in the U.S.
Right. And so it led me to think about the word equity. Essentially, equity is giving some part of ownership rights to your business, as an investor. So it can be a small part or a large part, but essentially it's a trade-off, because that person is investing something into your company. They now own part of it. So it can be anybody from friends to relatives, venture capitalists, all those types of things. So that's just my general word of the day. You can kind of think about that as an option for you. If you have a business and, maybe your investors are cutting out or whatnot, and you need to look for a new route, or, maybe you just need funding in some way or shape or manner. I guess, John, I'll let you give the PERT Center definition of equity.
The PERT Center definition. But again, the magic word of the day is equity. Mm-hmm. So when Big Bird and Ernie pop up and they say equity, so every time, if you call up here after you hear the word equity, maybe we'll take them flying or something.
Yeah. Some nice incentive.
Okay, so, and I like the way that she said it, because as with all small business owners, entrepreneurs, you're always going through something. And so when I heard the word equity, what came to mind as it relates to PERT Center has to do with, how much equity do you have in yourself? Okay. And one thing that really it's a huge peeve of mine are when people walk around and they have very little equity in themselves. And so I see this a lot on the promoter side. I see this a lot on, and not to slam on people, I see this a lot on the very active folks. Meaning, at the end of the day, if we're looking at your organization, if you had equity within your organization, that means you have a pretty strong ownership role in your organization. But if you were highly leveraged, whether it be from debt or you had a lot of folks own your organization, you're at their mercy to some extent. And I believe a lot of individuals from a business side are highly leveraged from the equity side, meaning you really don't do anything well. And so everything you do, you're counting on someone else's equity, meaning what they bring of value to the table. And I challenge you, especially if you're in a field where you're the promoter or you're the organizer, to make sure that you have some equity in each deal that you do. Because again, I always stress, if you're in marketing, or if you're in legal, or if you're in finance, or if you're in project management, and you don't truly understand your craft, and you don't know your craft, and you don't know who is the who in your craft or within your craft, I think you lack the equity to have much clout in many settings. And I think a lot of times, when I look at it from a financial system, so in a capitalistic system, well, let me go back. From a socialistic system, equity is kind of difficult, because if I go out and create something that saves my group, my country, my territory, my region, my family. But at the same time, and I've worked hard for this, I've really put in a lot of work, but at the same time, I'm earning or making or getting the same amount as the person who's just lying around on their couch and doing absolutely nothing. That's not fair. And that's why socialism's hard for Americans. Now, the flip side of it, with capitalism, you got a lot of people that have absolutely no equity out there doing business that they shouldn't be doing. And so they become the scamsters and the hustlers in the industry that make it hard for folks that have high equity. And so I believe a lot of folks in the PERT Center that we have brought in have a tremendous amount of equity. Matter of fact, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for which individual has the highest equity or the highest value on the open market if we were just to send a bid out. And, you know, I rub a lot of people wrong because my thing is if you're hype and you're sitting up there and you're fluffy and you just all you talk about is how you're organizing this and you do that and you got this conference and that, I'm not impressed. But I am impressed when I sit down with an individual that can create an application overnight and, you know, sell 1,000 units the next morning. They have real street value. I am impressed with individuals that, you know, can sit down in their garage, mix some chemicals together and create something that we can stick on the side of U.S. Navy vessels. That's impressive. I'm very excited when I meet a retailer like the ones I'm looking at here in the district, and they actually provide a service. They have equity in the game. They understand. So, again, not to get all off track, but when it comes to equity, I challenge you to make sure you even have any. And if the majority of what you do in life is based on somebody else doing it for you or making you look good, and your thing is to get on Facebook and be the mouthpiece, you probably don't share much equity in the process. So, Faith, how is that for equity? Was I mean?
No, I think let's be real here. I mean, if you're going to make it in business, you've got to be realistic with yourself. And I think something that Jeff also mentioned yesterday Jeff Jones mentioned yesterday is it's not really until you get to a certain level financially.
Yeah, you get squeezed.
Right. Well, I mean, even going beyond that, it's not till you get to a certain like financial level, like a high financial level, that you realize that there are many things you don't know. And someone else had mentioned that sometimes small business owners may have a tendency to think that they know it all and can do it all.
Yeah, I was one. Well, no, I can't say I've ever one of those.
Well, I mean, so it's just something to think about as far as I think sometimes maybe even having part of your equity be with an investor is it kind of puts a little push on you, a little pressure to get the job done. So, you know, I think your definition was pretty on point. You know, at this point, especially with the economy being the way that it is, you've got to be realistic with yourself. You know, do you have something of value? Yeah. Are you an asset?
And look at, here's another way to test your equity. Look around you, okay? Look at the shareholders around you. When you start thinking about the equity, who's in your inner circle? You know, who's in your outer circle? Who buys into what you're saying? Is it more people that have very little equity in their life and in the things that are going on? Or is it people that you realize that these people could do anything and they chose you by choice? And that's one thing we take pride in is our clientele, our base, have absolute near unlimited options, and they select us each time versus me dealing with an individual that I'm their last resort. And we're weeding out the last of those, but it gets old. And so, you know, at my age, at 40 something, I don't have time for that. And you don't either, regardless of your age. So I'm getting the signal for break. It is 15 minutes past the hour here on Global Entrepreneur Radio here on Hometown City, 1480. We'll be right back after these messages. Internet-driven technology has revolutionized how global entrepreneurs meet for business. Still, nothing takes the place of a face-to-face meeting with your vendors, customers, or partners. That's why I'm a firm believer in private jet travel. Thanks to my friends at Dream Flight Luxury Travel, long lines, canceled flights, and embarrassing screenings are no longer an issue. Time is money, especially when you need to transport your staff, investors, or clients to a major or remote site around the world. The friendly people at Dream Flight Luxury Travel can create a custom solution for you through their world-renowned Dream Flight Plus card program. Visit them at flydflt.com. Again, one word, flydflt.com, or simply simply call them at 1-866-969-3358. Again, that number is 1-866-969-3358 to find out about the Plus Card and tell them Johnny Profit sent you.
You're listening to the Global Entrepreneur Radio Show on 1480 AM. Give us a call at 713-784-1480. 713-784-1480.
Okay, so welcome back. 16 minutes past the hour. How much equity you got in yourself? How much equity you got in yourself?
I feel that I have a lot.
How so?
Well, I mean, relatively speaking,
Relatives. Bringing your relatives?
well, bringing the relatives in here, it's good to analyze yourself.
But you got a high dollar skill. You're a nurse.
True.
And you
but
know
I
how to
mean,
actually do the nursing.
But even going past that,
Yeah.
I mean, that is a large part of it.
You're a singer as well.
Tying in, yes, I sing.
No.
But I think it's good to analyze what really does make you an asset. I mean, sometimes you may think that you can do something and maybe you're just 40%. And at that time, 100% is what's needed.
And remember, equity is a perception based
Right.
on an evaluation. So the market's going to tell you whether you are a value or not, or your
Yes.
skill set's a value. What I'm saying is, if you have a skill set, or your talent isn't organizing, there's nothing wrong with organizing. It takes, it's great. But as Jeff was mentioning yesterday, when all great things hit the fan, if you really don't know how to do much other than organize, you're going to get bypassed
Right.
because all you're doing is adding to the cost. So, even when the city, I was up, unfortunately or fortunately, till 4 or 5 in the morning, I was watching some HISD or city council stuff, and they were saying how you could go to your politicians to have them petition the organizations you want to make changes, or you can go straight to the organizations themselves and let them know and cut out the middleman. So, I don't know. Go ahead.
I mean, essentially, all that I really think about this is in order to be of good worth, you have to be an asset to whomever the other party is.
Serve a purpose to power.
Yes. So in some cases, it may be organization. Maybe they've
Or
got
to the
everything down, but everything is everywhere. But for some others, it may be something, a lot more specific.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. If you're an organizer, but you know what you're doing, and if no one shows up, you can do it yourself, I'm a fan of yours. But if you're an organizer and you can't get my job done because you don't know how to do like 80% of the stuff you promised, we got issues.
I mean, that's another very good point. If you say you can do something, then do what you say.
So increase your equity, get some more education. Again, I don't know if the program's still going on, but I'll tell you that Lone Star program was awesome because the Texas workforce was paying you, even if you're, I think it was to the point where they'd fudge numbers and mess around that. If you're just one person in your organization, that there was training dollars available for you to go in and up your value on the open market by increasing your skill sets. And we just had 250 teachers released. I think people are starting to finally figure out that government, business, all this good stuff is one and the same. And that's one of the things we're going to touch on in a minute, that governments go broke. And if you're complaining about high gas prices, which I don't think my listeners really, you shouldn't be.
Wow.
It has so little to do with a shortage and everything to do with if you keep pushing money into the economy, if you keep printing money, you devalue the equity of money.
Right.
It's going to be trash soon.
Right.
And we're going to be paying $10 a gallon, and we're going to have surpluses sitting offshore. So work on your equity. That's what I'll say. Work on your equity.
Sounds good.
Yeah. You going to work on your equity?
I'm trying to work on my equity.
You know what? Do an assessment today. You remember last week I challenged you to do the business plan. Get your business plan together. And I didn't want that whole 31-page whatever stuff, which brings me to the point, if we didn't get into the system, on May 2nd and May 4th, the wonderful people at Capital One and the wonderful people at the Earl Carl Institute, which is part of TSU, which is part of their law school, are hosting a business plan competition, which will take place on June 11th.
Correct.
So on June 11th, there'll be a business plan competition. And so, we just left the Rice business plan competition, which is the business plan competition of all business plan competitions. And not to mention, at the same time, Houston Community College is having their business plan competition finals coming up, I think, next week.
Okay.
So the reason I'm saying that is be mindful of the fact there's always different ways to leverage your equity, your ability to provide something to the market. So, but definitely if I don't know, send them to, okay, if you go to tsu.edu, I'm guessing this right now. If you go to tsu.edu and you look in there, Capital One and the partners have put up $19,000 total prizes. That's total prizes. So that's just, it might be 1,500 here and whatever. But they will, that's the cash prize on that. And I'm sure there's going to be some some equity prizes or in-kind prizes as well. So go check that out. I definitely said I was going to mention, I want to bring it up because there's a lot of business plan competitions coming up.
And I believe, as he was saying, you just go to the TSU website. You can Google it.
Texas Southern University right here in Houston.
Correct. Texas Southern University.
For those of you watching.
And click on Hot Topics. And under Hot Topics, there should be some information about the business plan. And of course, if you have questions and you can't find it or whatnot, you can always feel free to give us a call at our number, the PERT Center, which is 888-380-4249. Again, that's 888-380-4249. You can check out our website. We literally took down the entire website and we're revamping it. So if you see it and you see a little whatever going on, don't worry. We're getting it all together. We just are trying to, make it clearer.
We're too busy making money, to be perfectly honest with you. And you'll get this from again, I'm an older guy now. So the whole fluff and stuff, it's a little different. It's different now. So, when I'm looking at the website, I'm doing, and oh, by the way, let me stop before I get into the whole website. Tomorrow morning at Capital One, Fulton branch off of Fulton, just north of downtown, I will be doing a social media training piece there.
Yes.
And we got to go to Star Hall's training piece last week that was brought in by Sprint and Deluxe and Entrepreneur Magazine. I got to meet the whole team there. It was awesome. Going to do big things in the future.
Yep.
But tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., I'll be at the Capital One branch, Sprint, the Fulton branch, Fulton. Of course, they want to get customers in there and educate them on how to use things. And so, the one thing that we stress that I'm very proud of is the why. As a business owner, I'm not interested in telling you stuff you could Google, like, how many people on Facebook and how many hits and here are the trends. I'm trying to explain to you how the social media is one more tool you can put in your arsenal. And whether you're managing it, running it, or just want to know about it, the information we give you explains the big picture so that you can understand it. Because again, it's all I can do to get on there and even Twitter and stuff anymore. I have so many things to do in the real world that sitting in the virtual does absolutely nothing for me. And if you're sitting in a convenience store or you're sitting in your doctor's office or whatever, when do we have time for that? Yeah. But by understanding it, you'll know that that's one extra tool you have in there. So again, we make no excuses for the website. It is a non-priority for us because in our business, we do not do volume. We do quality. We're not a commodity. As I was saying before, I feel very fortunate, very blessed that the people that come to us have plentiful options. And so that allows us to understand that we can compete at the highest level when it comes to helping you set up your company, blueprinting your company, building the actual turnkey company for you while you're still employed. So,
well, I do have to still add in there.
She's going to add in there.
Even though, yes, we are definitely more about quality and less about quantity, still have to put it out there because I don't want you all to think that, the site's not up and running.
Yeah, it's up.
It is indeed. But ultimately, just email us. You've got, Johnny Profit here or John Whaley at jw@pertcenter.com or myself, Faith at pertcenter.com. Give us a call again at 888-380-4249 for any questions, especially now that you've got these opportunities for business plan competitions and whatnot to gain a little cash, And
not to mention, again, when I'm saying I enjoy working with those that know what they're doing and know what they want and have the resources to make it happen, I still have a huge heart for those that are in the place where I started. So that's why I volunteer with SCORE, the Service Corps of Retired Execs, because, in there, I don't charge you anything. I just give you everything in my head. The difference between what happens in the PERT Center and at SCORE is in the PERT Center, we're actually doing the work. At SCORE, I'm giving you the advice, holding your hands, helping you along. So even if you contact SCORE and you ask for John Whaley because you have something in that you want to write a business plan, or you want to set up something on the social media side, then you can do that. So that's one other avenue you have. So I don't want to discourage people, because we're quick to run out and do a workshop or seminar to help any group that wants to either better understand social media, business development, marketing, something of that nature. So, but if you're serious and you got some cash and you're ready to make best use of the current human behavior patterns, then you give us a call at that 888-380-4BIZ number. And, Faith will get you organized with me. We'll schedule some time and we'll make some stuff happen. So we're a couple minutes before we go to break, but let me preface by telling you this. I'm going to share with you some stuff that's very important to me. I'm going to help you understand the economic key players, because many people out here are running around thinking that they are owners, because we're reclassifying now. They think they're owners. They feel they're entrepreneurs. They feel they're small business owners or small business people. They feel they're inventors, all these different things. But when we come back, I'm going to help you understand the difference between the big seven, which is the owners, government, corporate, entrepreneurs, small business, working class, and the wonderful consumer. So we're going to go to break, and when we get back, I'm going to treat you to some stuff that you may not get the first time, so you'll have to give us a buzz, but it will definitely, hopefully, help you better understand what's going on from CNBC to C-SPAN. We'll be right back after these messages.
With so much clutter and digital noise in the marketplace, it's nice to be able to just pick up a local newspaper and read about our small business community. Hello, friends. This is Miss Faith, here to say that I recommend you grab a copy of the Houston International Star today. This bi-weekly newspaper was thoughtfully designed to serve as a connection between the small business community and the corporate world. For your free copy, or better yet, to showcase your business in the next edition, email the wonderful folks at the Houston International Star today. Send your requests, questions, or comments to info@HoustonINTstar.com. This gem of a paper provides great articles from local and international leaders, as well as bridges the gap between the local small business owner and our area corporate and government agency, all in an effort to stimulate our economy, one entrepreneur at a time. Again, that's info@HoustonINTstar.com to find out more about the Houston International Star.
Internet-driven technology has revolutionized how global entrepreneurs meet for business. Still, nothing takes the place of a face-to-face meeting with your vendors, customers, or partners. That's why I'm a firm believer in private jet travel. Thanks to my friends at Dreamflight Luxury Travel, long lines, canceled flights, and embarrassing screenings are no longer an issue. Time is money, especially when you need to transport your staff, investors, or clients to a major or remote site around the world. The friendly people at Dreamflight Luxury Travel can create a custom solution for you through their world-renowned Dreamflight Plus card program. Visit them at flydflt.com. Again, one word, flydflt.com. Or simply call them at 1-866-969-3358. Again, that number is 1-866-969-3358 to find out about the Plus card and tell them Johnny Profit sent you.
The Global Entrepreneur Radio Team is committed to bringing you information that can fast-track your business concept from a blueprint on a napkin all the way to a job-creating, community-building, economic resource within the market. Tune in to the Global Entrepreneur Radio Show every Wednesday from 2 to 3 p.m. on Hum Tum City Radio, 1480 a.m.
SCORE, Counselors to America's Small Business, is a nonprofit association dedicated to entrepreneur education and the formation, growth, and success of small businesses nationwide. SCORE has 389 chapters and locations throughout the United States and its territories, with 10,500 volunteers nationwide. SCORE, founded in 1964, is a resource partner with the United States Small Business Administration. Houston, Texas chapter of SCORE, with more than 70 volunteers, has been helping entrepreneurs and small business owners in Houston for over 40 years. They are real-world professionals with time-tested knowledge who donate thousands of hours to help small businesses succeed. Counselors are experts in areas such as accounting, finance, marketing, management, and business plan preparation. You can visit them at their main office at 8701 South Gessner here in Houston, Texas, or just give them a call at 713-487-6565. Check them out online at scorehouston.org.
You're listening to the Global Entrepreneur Radio Show on 1480 AM. Give us a call at 713-784-1480. 713-784-1480.
It's 30 minutes past the hour, and I'm just so excited to be here with all of you listening, streaming, webbing, and the whole concept of business is so misleading in a lot of ways. And what I've found consistently was that many of you were taking big corporate ideas and trying to fit them in your small business. And the frustration level after doing this for 20 plus years were so high that it kind of made me depressed at times. So from folks getting involved in multi-level marketing setups, folks buying franchises, people spending their last dollar or two to build the, quote, ultimate company, it was just like, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a system. There's got to be a way to help people understand clearly how this system works universally. It doesn't matter if you're in the U.S. or you're overseas, domestic, foreign. What we came to the conclusion of was this. In this world, there's basic resources. And so every time I do this presentation, people, I say, hey, what are the main basic resources? And they say, oh, oil and gas and food and sunlight. And these are the basic resources of the world. And that's that's what it is. And cotton. And I think to myself, you're right. But we want to break it down even deeper so that, again, if we were to take this to an area that still ran on generators and we taught this, because many of the people that we deal with right now, I know through the Indus Group online in India, I know through the Pakistani group online, through LinkedIn. This is all through LinkedIn. I put on advice. They go, wow, never thought of it like that. And then they start sending in feedback. And that's what I said. My focus is not here on the U.S. market as much as it is around the world. As I used to look out over the city and I would drive into town heading in on 45 and I think to myself, wow, this is my city. Now I have this globe that we got from the port that my son plays with, and it's a transparent globe and it has the entire world on it. And I think, wow, this is my world, because I'm able to reach from corner to corner to help people. And so the main resources that we developed over time, we categorize them so they're very specific and very easy to understand no matter where you are, what language you speak. There are three primary resources in this world that exist. And when you're in your shop or you're in your dealership or you're at your manufacturing plant today, stop and think about this, because in most MBA programs, they break it down, but they don't break it down to this level. Your first resource is usually going to be the products, the things you use. So let's just say that you make cakes that you eat. So all the ingredients that go into the cakes, that's a resource. Those are the resources that we call products. The next resource is the processor. Now, the crazy thing about processors are there are only basically three different types. You have human, machine, and beast. Over time we use yaks and cows and ox and things like that to move goods. Humans, we're a resource, we work. We are the processors. We do the work. Machines do the work. But the most important and fleeting resource on this planet is process. And so process is the information that allows you to be an engineer or a doctor, or allows the computer to turn on, because Microsoft Windows is the process that runs the processor. So in understanding the three primary resources, we can always pinpoint what markets are going up and what markets are going down, who has the power and who has the Achilles tendon. Because in the case, if we look around the world for the longest, China had the number one processors, human capital, labor. The U.S. had the number one process, the technology to build warbirds, to do medicine. And the products came from different parts of the world. Now, one of the the fastest growing place on earth for the actual product is the continent of Africa. So from this moment on, if you just think to yourself, the three main resources in my organization, so you look around, what's not working in my organization? Is it how we do it? Is it who or what we have doing it? Or the stuff we've enabled them to do it with? Now, when we take all that and we just ball it up into one big ball of resources, now I'm going to tell you how the flow, the trickle down works. And so you'll understand that how your organization fits into the big picture. The first thing you must always be mindful of is when it comes to resources, one individual or a few individuals control it. We call those individuals the owners. And so the owner is not someone perhaps that just owns, you own a store, you file the DBA. That's not the owners we're talking about. We're talking about the owners that have absolute control over the resource itself, meaning they govern it. They are the ones who have complete control over either a process, a product, or a processor. And so what you got to understand about the owner is they're in this for the control of resources. Everything I say from this moment on has to do with the resources. Because again, when you're getting confused and many listeners don't understand how can a government go broke, everything is centered around a resource. And so at the PERT Center, every business we build is around a resource. Because that means there's a group of people working their hardest to get a piece of that resource, whether for survival or prosperity. Now, the thing about owners is they want the value of the resource. That's what they're shooting for. And one thing we found is the absolute enemy of the owner are the working class. So if you look at what's taking place all across the Mideast and these uprisals, you have the owners that control the resources, the food, the water, the bombs, and all this good stuff. It's business, it's government. And the people that have been working are now upset. Now, next to the owners, if we were to slide over, the next group down are government. This is an entity. And so when we're looking at governments, the government's job is to protect resources. So if you grew up here and you watch TV, you'll see on the side of the vehicles, the police cars, it said to serve and protect. That's their job. Not you, the resource, unless you are the resource. Which is why in some parts of your community, you will see no police presence, no military presence, no cartel presence, nothing, because that group does not represent a resource, even though they're human beings. Yet in another area, you'll have gated communities, you'll have patrols 24/7, because those people are high value resources. And so the job of the government is to protect, and how the government makes money is by taxing all activity. That's where they get their money from. So if there's no activity in the market, they can't make money off of taxes. Now, the neat thing about it is the biggest enemy to the government are the owners. And so you know this by the lobbyist. And so the lobbyist is the person that says, let me tell you something, city council person, let me tell you something, they're president, let me tell you something, they're congressman or congresswoman. If you don't do what we say, we're going to run every ad we possibly can and get whomever we can in here to do what we want. And it works all the time. And so when you start to think about it, you have owners and then you have government. They're separate, but at the same time, owners control government through lobbyists. Next to government, you have the corporate group. Now, these aren't you going out and filing an LLC or setting up your S Corp or whatever. Not that type of corporate. These are corporations that are protected by governments all over the world. This group, their sole purpose is to manage the resources. So if you're thinking to yourself, if you're a huge organization, you're within a huge organization, because I'm not even going to mention any names, but within that huge organization, there's very little of any innovation. That's not their job. Their job is to manage the resources, either the people, the products, or the worker bees. That's what they do. And so you rarely, it's all about shareholders. And so you got to understand the shareholders are the owners. So now when we look at the owners, this first group, and next time we'll do a webinar on this, right, Faith?
That sounds really good, actually.
Yeah, we'll do a webinar because you got to see this, because I'm a very visual person. And once you see it, hopefully it'll clear up a few things for you. So you're not just following talk radio, and you're not just following what your neighbor says. And you're not following the person with the big body car just because that's what they say and it seems like they should know. Because a lot of times they're just pretty much talking out the sides of their head there. So you have the corporate group, and the corporate's job is to manage. Their main thing they're after is the return on investment for the owners. That's why you build and develop corporations. Now, the enemy or the adversary to the corporation is the government because of regulations. So it's that fine line between governments and owners lobbying back and forth. That's why, again, I always emphasize within the PERT Center, it doesn't matter who's in office. It's one and the same. Because at the end of the day, we're simply jockeying for who wins and who loses, who gets first share at the cuts from the tax revenue, and who gets the privilege of dumping pollution in the ocean, and who has to be actually held accountable for it. So now we jump down one notch and you have the small business owner. Now, the role of the small business owner is to do nothing but distribute the goods. Whether you're Walmart or whether you have a small store out here like Raj Trading and Flaming Lingerie, your job is to get the stuff from corporate, package it all up, and distribute it out to the world. That's what a small business does. And so when they say small business is the backbone of America, they're absolutely right, because that is one step higher than being working class. And so the role is to distribute, and what small business owners seek is profits. And so the enemy to the small business owners is corporate. Doesn't matter. Now, keep in mind, corporate can be everything from banks. Corporates can be the suppliers. So that's why you always see these huge, like we just had the government procurement conference, and everybody just wanted to get in there because they realize their enemy or their adversary, their gatekeeper is corporate, because they just want that contract. They just want that one big job. They just want this. They just want that. And so they bow down, bend over, and do whatever they can to get into a position to be in good favor with corporate because they're seeking profits. Now, this last group, before we get to the most influential group, is the working class. The working class that happen to be within government organizations, corporate, small business, their job is to process the resources. In other words, they bake the cakes. Whether you're cutting hair or flying drone predators, your job is to do the work. That's what makes a working class. The small business owner is going to distribute the goods, hire you, and send you out to do this stuff. And so what happens is they're working for wages. And unfortunately, the enemy or the adversary to small business or to the working class is the small business owners. Because if you look up, they're saying small businesses aren't hiring. We need small businesses. We need small businesses as far as the working class and the job market. So I'm going to hold on that note. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about consumers and entrepreneurs. We'll be right back after these messages.
With so much clutter and digital noise in the marketplace, it's nice to be able to just pick up a local newspaper and read about our small business community. Hello, friends. This is Miss Faith here to say that I recommend you grab a copy of the Houston International Star today. This bi-weekly newspaper was thoughtfully designed to serve as a connection between the small business community and the corporate world. For your free copy, or better yet, to showcase your business in the next edition, email the wonderful folks at the Houston International Star today. Send your requests, questions, or comments to info@HoustonINTstar.com. This gem of a paper provides great articles from local and international leaders, as well as bridges the gap between the local small business owner and our area corporate and government agency, all in an effort to stimulate our economy, one entrepreneur at a time. Again, that's info@HoustonINTstar.com to find out more about the Houston International Star.
You're listening to the Global Entrepreneur Radio Show on 1480 AM. Give us a call at 713-784-1480. 713-784-1480.
So at 44 minutes past the hour, I stayed on air after having a short bout on the station upstairs, and, for whatever that was worth. And Rehan made this possible. And so, I'm real appreciative to him. And this was our focus market anyway. So South Asia. Huge number of talented, driven, focused, community-centered individuals. I can honestly say unrivaled around the world because of the amount of chaos and stuff going on in different places and just the whole social background of so many other groups. And I'm fairly diverse and international with my, yes.
I really do have to say, with you saying that, it reminds me of someone I spoke with today. I was calling this morning for help, and my call went to New Delhi in India. Mm-hmm. and I was speaking with a gentleman there who was telling me about the fact that, you know, he was in a mortgage company and a lot of his sales and whatnot went to people that were in California.
Right.
But with the fires that were going on and land being destroyed and all that, he had to now kind of take a back seat, and he's doing this side job. But it was just so interesting to know, you know, how closely tied in he is with, you know, what's going on in the U.S. So it really does lead me to believe that the people that we're speaking to out there, all of you, you all really are connected, and we are here to help you, you know, to move even further in your plans of just making it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very calculated decision in deciding, as we develop technology that can help the entrepreneur, what group could best take this information and do the greatest things. And so we looked at the Anglo Group, which actually helped train and develop much of the information that we use now. We looked at the East Asian Group from China on down. We looked at the African, Nigerian, South African Group. We looked at folks in Europe, more Anglos. But there was just something about that whole South Asian market, just from my experience of years and years and having friends, and that culturally, the stuff we developed was a good fit. And so just in reading, you know, we have so many DVDs and just trying to learn and sitting with the folks that share their stories. Around the world, all people are the same, but how those people interact is the key. You know, and to deal with individuals that do not charge interest in general and have the greater good of the group, it's so refreshing, because as much as I love a competition and doing great things, it's just so rewarding to know that if I help one will help the others. Versus even when I get on Facebook, if I help one, that one will take it and try to manipulate and do what they do to others. So with that said, now we're talking about the working class.
Correct.
So none of these titles are to be taken in a negative way. This is how we've categorized each group, because their behavior pattern is so specific. They do not deviate much from this. And so, as I was saying, the working class, the people you have in your store or your shop, sometimes yourself, are in there for the wages. And your biggest nemesis, or the person that gives you the biggest fits, is small business, because most working people, because of the media and the misinformation, are looking to small business as though they're supposed to save the world. And the small business can do nothing if the corporations do not release the resources. And the corporations can't do anything unless the government set the regulations in place to make it worth their while and make it profitable.
Once again, don't forget that whole equity word.
Yeah.
You're really as good as you are an asset.
Yeah.
So, I mean, John is very, very appropriate in saying that it's not a negative thing. It's just a reality. I mean, you are what you present yourself to be. So.
And so, having a 17-year-old daughter and trying to break her of this next group, which is actually the 8th group, but this next group is called the consumer group. And what the consumer group does is they work for resources. And so the resource, this whole GDP and things we have going on, the consumer group are the economic, or what we measure all of the economics and economy by. And so they're out for comfort. Literally, that's what consumers do. They want to find comfort. They buy flat screens. They buy new cars. They buy houses. They buy clothes. In this country, we waste quite a bit. And again, that goes back to a cultural difference between me growing up in a small town under a German settlement that went through the Depression and appreciate the scarcity. Many of my friends from around the world who do not have abundance. They cannot just leave water running. They cannot leave electricity on because there may not be electricity later on. So they lack that consumer mentality, but we are steadily exporting that around the world to make sure that everybody has the amenities of comfort. So anyway, the enemy to the consumer is the working class. Why? Because the more people that are working, the more consumers that are out there. And you see this in economics. So, if there's only a few people working, it's a buyer's pick. If you got a lot of people working, this is what Americans are feeling. Remember, the global entrepreneurs to bring best-in-class practices here in the U.S. to global entrepreneurs. And so to sit here and think that a person would spend their last dollar on a flat screen TV or ball tickets to the Astros.
Or their hair.
Hair is important, to some extent.
Within
reason. But they'll spend their last dollars on something so frivolous with no return, as though this gravy train of economics is supposed to just last forever. As the pressure of millions and millions of people around the world, as they're gaining this process to put in their processor, which is their brain, and now they realize the only difference between us and them is the fact that they had the products and resources at the time. And now all over the world, as I'm on there and I'm reading what's going on in Delhi and different places, and I'm thinking, wow. Because right now, one of the stats I found yesterday on the Port of Houston when I went through the Indo-American deal was the number one export out of the port right now, dollar-wise, is machinery to India.
Makes sense.
Dollar-wise, machinery. And so that tells us we need to focus on either running support groups, getting more manufacturers here that are building machinery, get them involved, and help these exporters export more machinery out. Because right now we can look out and we'll see cat tractors, we'll see all kinds of stuff sitting in the warehouses. You pass any one of these spots and you just got cranes and things just sitting there because there's no money being released into this economy, yet we still keep printing it. So unfortunately, government printed the money, the companies took the money, the companies then loaned the money back to you, but they didn't release any money, and the next thing you know, we are where we are. So it's important to understand that you have the consumer class. Now, where I want all of you to fit in is what we call the entrepreneurial class, okay? That's what we do. And your job from here on out is to realign the resources. So that means literally you will sit there and you will understand the owner's position, which is to keep absolute control over the resource, find maximum value for that resource, and try to stave off the working class. You're to understand exactly what the government is doing, which is to protect the resource on behalf of the owners, to tax as much as possible so they can just get as big and as strong as possible, to continue taxing it, and that they are at the whim of the owners. And then to understand that the corporations, this is what you do as an entrepreneur, a real live PERT Center entrepreneur, not that little stuff that people just tag on there. But your job is to know what the corporations are doing as far as managing the resources, what kind of return on investments they want, and how the government is influencing their decisions. And when all that's said, you have to go out and find these small business owners that really are the backbone of our world and empower them with the information to do better on behalf of the owners, the government, the corporations, the consumers, and the working class.
The way that I kind of look at this, it's as if it's a love-hate relationship.
It is.
It's like you're dependent on those that really determine, whether you go yay or nay, or good or bad. So you really have to keep that in mind. Once again, it's sort of a mental thing also. It's where you choose to place yourself. Right. I mean, if you're absolutely fine being a consumer, then that's great. We need you.
If you have the resources to continue to consume.
Right. Then keep that up. But once again, if you're trying to get to the next level and be in control as much as you can within
increase
reason,
your equity,
then, once again, talk to us. That's what we're here for.
Yeah. So we're going to go to break. Mm-hmm. All right. So we're going to go to break. We're going to come up. We're going to wrap up the show. And we'll be right back after these messages. SCORE, Counselors to America's Small Business, is a nonprofit association dedicated to entrepreneur education and the formation, growth, and success of small businesses nationwide. SCORE has 389 chapters and locations throughout the United States and its territories, with 10,500 volunteers nationwide. SCORE, founded in 1964, is a resource partner with the United States Small Business Administration. Houston, Texas chapter of SCORE, with more than 70 volunteers Volunteers has been helping entrepreneurs and small business owners in Houston for over 40 years. They are real-world professionals with time-tested knowledge who donate thousands of hours to help small businesses succeed. Counselors are experts in areas such as accounting, finance, marketing, management, and business plan preparation. You can visit them at their main office at 8701 South Gessner here in Houston, Texas, or just give them a call at 713-487-6565. Check them out online at scorehouston.org.
Times are tough. Now's the time to start your own or grow your own business. The first step is having a strong business plan. The Green Power Initiative is hosting a free business plan competition. You can win part of $19,000 in prizes. All you have to do is attend one of 2 free business plan workshops May 2nd or 4th at the Capital One Building, 5718 West Hammer, beginning at 5:30 p.m. To register, call 713-680-3290 or go to earlcarl.org. That's EARLCARL.org.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Earl Carl, you can do it. Yeah, I love that guy. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, when we left out, we were talking about that whole understanding as an entrepreneur, and you're running your business. You're inside your shop right now. If you don't understand what the people that have the resources or / money are going to do, and you don't understand what the people that are protecting the resources are going to do, and you don't understand what the people that are managing the resources are going to do, these are separate entities, but they're all controlled by one group. But it's such a, as Faith said, a love-hate relationship. It's like with any sport. It's very complex, which is why if it weren't, everybody would be making money. But if you know what key indicators to look at, we're big to watch C-SPAN. Now we'll admit, or I will tell you this, the world poor is another group that we have in this mix, and we classify the world poor as those that lack resources. And what drives them is survival. And the greatest enemy to them are the governments. Because remember, a government doesn't have to be structured like the United States government, the city government. A government can be any group that has the ability to punish or reward based on the power they have. So, even when we're looking at individuals like the groups that accreditate physicians, schools, anybody that has that power can definitely be classified as government. So with that said, I'm hoping some of that made sense, and that's when we say small business owner versus entrepreneur versus working class. We mean it. It's not a lifestyle business. You can run a lifestyle business in anywhere, but for the sake of creating a science out of entrepreneurship and being able to help each and every one of you see clear as day how this works, that's why we created this. So, we just want to share it with you. We've been working on it for several years now, and I've had the opportunity to take it up against some of the best in the world, and it still holds its weight. Hopefully I'll get to do a TED presentation of this one day, or, something of that nature. But anyway, it's been wonderful chatting with you all. Faith, you have any last words with your equity self?
Once again, pretty much just, check us out on the website, www.pertcenter.com, or give us a call at 888-380-4249, and we'd love to work with you.
Yeah, I'd love to work with you. If you got a group and you want me to come out there and present on any subject matter that has to do with business, I'll be happy to come out there and do it. I'm not going to do any big back of room sales and try to, for $14.95, I'm going to give you the rest of the information, even though many of my team would like that, but we don't do that. We are here to help. That's why we're on air. And with that said, I want you to find your equity today and make sure you increase your equity on the open market. And until then, we shall see you, we'll see you on Ustream next week.
Alrighty. Bye-bye, everyone.
The Global Entrepreneur Radio Team is committed to bringing you information that can fast-track your business concept from a blueprint on a napkin all the way to a job-creating, community-building, economic resource within the market.
Tune in to the Global Entrepreneur Radio Show every Wednesday from 2 to 3 p.m. on Hum Tum City Radio, 1480 AM.